It is open line night. Thank you and welcome back to the show. I appreciate you joining us tonight. We are talking about the plan for metro schools and the return to the classroom for some students after fall break, but not the majority of students by far. Some high schoolers won't go back until next year. Fran Bush, who has been a critic of this plan and also a school board member, joining me tonight, and Steve Glover, who is a Metro Council member at large and former school board member, joining me as well. Thank you to both. I want to let our viewers know we are taking calls tonight. 615-737 plus is the number to call. We have Christy on the line right now. Christy, thanks for calling in and getting us started with calls. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Yes, I am a parent of a junior at Overton, and I have a fourth grader as well. And the thing that really concerns me about metro schools not going back in person is the huge disparity that we're going to have between metro public schools and private schools. There was already a disparity there, but that gap is growing wider and wider every single day that our kids are not back in school. And I think that as a metro parent, that's very concerning, but also I think it's very concerning as a taxpayer because our kids not being in school and that gap getting wider, it's going to hurt Metro's property tax values ultimately because people are not going to want to move into our school district.
That's a good perspective. How are your kids individually doing with virtual learning?
Well, I mean, they're doing as good as they can. Obviously, our junior's doing a little bit better. She's a little bit more independent and can do things on her own. Of course, she's also an athlete, and thank goodness she's able to be back on the field, but, you know, parents aren't allowed to watch right now, but I can see the younger one is struggling a little bit more. It's hard to focus. You're at home. You have distractions even though you're sitting in your room doing your learning or wherever. It's not the same. You're not focusing. You're just not getting that same value that you would be getting if you were in person in a classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for calling in. It's so valuable to hear from parents right now. And Fran, I know you hear from a lot of parents. Steve, I do want to get your perspective. When Christy was talking about the impact on our property values long term, do you agree with her?
Yeah, absolutely. And what really bothers me the most about this is because of the impact on, especially your younger students, we won't feel the full impact of what we've done to these poor children for a good 10, 15, 20 years from now. That's when we'll really see it. And the learning curve, I believe what she said was it was already pretty wide between the private and the public sector, and it's growing exponentially right now. And so when you look at the property values, what's it going to do? She summed it up, really. I couldn't say it better than what she said. And that is people are not going to want to move in here into metro schools. Whenever they're moving in from out of town, one of the first things they do is they literally look to determine what the rating of the school system is. And when they see that, they will move to surrounding counties because the surrounding counties have been back in school. Parents can go watch their kids play sports. Children are playing sports. And so, I don't understand why we're living in such a cocoon here in Metro Nashville, because it's going to be damaging. And we are a major economic engine for the entire state, not just Nashville, but the entire state.
Let's go to Daryl on the line. Daryl, thank you for your call. What's your comment or question?
Hello?
Hi, go ahead, Daryl. Yes, you are.
Oh, yes. Well, my question is, I'm a healthcare provider, and I wondered if the administration had thought about having the teachers remain virtual within a auditorium, but having the students to be in-house, whereas they could actually receive their assignments in the classroom. Since the teachers, being of age, are at higher risk of contracting COVID-19, was that ever a consideration?
Well, let's ask. Daryl, thank you for your call tonight. I'm going to hang up on you so you can listen to your TV. Fran, do you know if that's ever been a consideration, or do you think it's a good idea?
Well, once again, we definitely want to make sure that our teachers that have underlying conditions, that have those health concerns, that they do have an option. They have a first option of staying virtual. That's the reason why we're in this space right now, trying to figure out what teachers are going to come back in person, what teachers are going to remain virtual. So, and again, we have options. We have teachers in person. We have how's it going to look for those teachers that are going to be virtual? How many teachers are going to be in elementary, middle, high? You know, how many teachers we're going to have available for our students? So that's the reason why we have options. Now, we'll say the teachers that I have spoken to, majority of them want to go back in person because they do feel that the virtual space and the learning environment is not conducive to the students.
Interesting. Okay, let's go to Taylor on the line. Taylor, thank you for your call. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this show. I just tuned in, so I might have missed part of it.
That's okay.
I'm glad to have these two there, especially Steve. Steve's been on the school board on more than one occasion. As a matter of fact, that fine young man ran for mayor, and I supported him strongly, but he didn't quite make the mayor race. I think we've been better off with Steve than most of the others we've selected since then. But back to the school board. I only have 2 grandchildren that are about to enter public schools, and I think I would sell my house to put them in private school before I would put them into what's going on now. And I may be wrong, but I put a whole lot of the problem on the school board, the elected officials in Nashville that are so scared of the teachers union, and a teachers union that professes to be all about the kids, but in fact are all about the teachers, and they're wanting a armory around them for protection, or else they may not come back, and that's got everybody shaken up. The school system ought to say the schools are open. Teachers, you're to be here, and if you're not, we will put 60 students to a class or whatever we have to do and start hiring teachers at double salary from wherever we need to get them from. But run the school like it needs to be run and get these kids back to where they belong. And again, the same thing is going on in a lot of other major cities wherein the union is running what's taking place on whether it's virtual, in class, or whatever.
Well, let me get Steve and Fran's. Let me get their opinion on that. Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate your call. Steve, I'm going to let you respond first to this one.
Well, I couldn't hear exactly. It broke up just a second there, so I'll answer it as best I can. If I miss something, hopefully Fran can jump in and cover it. So here's where I think where we are. I think he has very legitimate concerns. The part that bothers me the most is hearing people say, I would sell my house, I would do this, I would do whatever. We're going exactly the opposite of where we should be going. The last gentleman that was speaking about thinking outside of the box. See, I don't understand why we haven't done that. These schools are large footprints. And I'd never heard the idea to put a teacher in an area where they could do the virtual, but the students would be in the building. See, we didn't think about any of those kind of ideas. One other thing that we didn't think about asking was how many parents are working second and third shift. You know, could we have staggered how we had the children in the building to where we had a half a day where they're doing, in the school, a half a day where they're doing virtual. I mean, there's a lot of different things I believe that we should have looked at and could have done, but we didn't. I want to make sure we keep our teachers safe as well. But ultimately, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make sure and fight for the kids because they're the ones in the long run who will pay the price. The adults are drawing paychecks right now. The children are being cheated out of valuable time and a learning curve that they can't afford to make up. We get fired, we lose our job, we can go find another job. We cheat them out of this 1 year of education. I don't know how we make it up.
Fran, how much does the teachers union play into these decisions that are being made on the schedule?
Well, I will tell you that from what we received today, as far as the memo, the MNPS plays a huge part of this equation. So the gentleman was right. They do play a huge part, and this is the reason why I think one of many reasons why we have delayed opening our schools. Again, this is one of many reasons, and I do think they play a huge part. And rightfully, they can do that, but they have to be reasonable. I've always been about, taking care of our teachers and make sure, and Steve can say this, we fight to get teacher pay, because we want to make sure we take care of our teachers. However, we have to also make sure that we're taking care of our students, because we got our degrees, right? They don't have theirs yet, and we're trying to get them there because they are our future. And if we don't be careful, this generation is definitely going to fail, especially when it's tagged with MNPS. And that is a major concern.
Very good. Okay, we have to take another quick break. I'm just writing down some things that I want to ask about after the break, and I know that we have Linda and Clayton on the phone. I will get to you right after this. Stay with us.